Mwanase Ahmed, originally from Lamu, has decided to come all the way to Nairobi to be part of the movement. Because last year, this time, she was in Lamu. Oh, Kilifi, right?
Yeah.
And, Kilifi was, okay, it had maybe its hot spots, but it wasn't like Nairobi.
Yeah.
This time, she's decided to come into the belly of the
beast.
Boss. Nasi G-Wagon.
And Nasi G-Wagon. Mwanase Ahmed.
Welcome to Hot 96.
Do you know what her title is?
Go on.
An active citizen.
Oh, okay.
An active
citizen.
Yeah.
Mwanase, go on.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good to see you.
Kunikaribisha. Si lazima tuongee kizungu mingi.
Tunaweza ongea Kiswahili.
Tunaweza changanya.
Na leo nataka uweke Jeff yani on the spot, right? Ile design yenye tuongea tu Kiswahili, si Kiswahili ya ku show off, ni Kiswahili ya communication.
Okay.
Unaget?
Yes.
So to try to make this conversation ikuwe Swahili based.
So tuongee basi.
Ati?
Tuendelee.
Wacha tuchanganye lakini leo hatuko hapa kumweka Jeff on the spot.
Thank you. That'll be another day. Many parents are still grieving, huh?
They are.
And mourning.
And we saw them last night.
And the bodies aren't, they haven't been presented with the body. So there's no closure
There's
yet.
no closure.
Sure.
And we have some who still do not know where their children are.
Yes.
To date.
Yeah.
It's a horrifying feeling. I think we saw the pain of Albert's father recently. We saw the pain that brought to the nation. We saw the pain of Boniface Kariuki's mother.
Yeah.
But somehow the majority, not all of us, but somehow our state and many seem to be ignoring the pain and the trauma that is still so deeply present within the many, many families from last year's murders whose children were also brutally murdered. Some taken, tortured, dumped in dams, morgues, some shot in the back of the head on the street, also again unarmed. Some, as you mentioned, disappeared to date. Some were abducted and other people were in cells with them. Yeah. But then they were never found again.
Yeah.
Are you kidding? Are you crazy?
Yeah, I am a little bit, but crazy for all the right reasons. For us, for me, I believe that I've always believed Kenya can be better. We know Kenya is wealthy. We know Kenya has resources. We know Kenya has capacity to provide a different reality for its youth, for its children, for the women, Atamashosho. So this is really about, how do we build a better Kenya for Gen Zote.
Yeah, Gen Zote. Gen Z.
So, since last year, since the protests in Kilifi, already I knew it was about more than the finance bill. So I started doing some organizing there, trying to see what's the vision, where are we trying to go? We have a long way to go.
Yeah.
And I know that Nairobi's got the heart of an active movement that's historic.
Yeah.
From Mau Mau,
correct,
to multi-party democracy, to more Kenya, all the way through to where we are today. It's an ongoing struggle. So for me, I need the inspiration of those who are around here so that we can work together to achieve more.
But why? Because if we read her biography, right, or background or profile, right, and as Mwanase Ahmed is a global citizen, as I told you, right, with roots in Lamu Island, Kenya, right, and then she combines her multicultural background with a passion for creating alternative models of businesses and societies, prioritizing social, ethical, cultural, and environmental responsibility and shared prosperity. Why? Are you suffering?
Personally, I suffer when I see others suffer, and I cannot sit back and live in a country that has 50 million beggars and 50 millionaires.
Someone else once said that, huh?
I know that it can be better. We know it can be better. So for me, I have 2 children. I'm a single mother of 2, but there's so many children that suffer daily. And if I can be a part of creating a better future for them, for many, I will. It's not really, it's beyond a decision. It's a selfless sacrifice that the danger, the fear that's trying to be instilled within you. But the desire and the drive is above that. I've been threatened, we've been threatened. We understand that when we leave home, it might be our last time. And in the past week, there's been a lot of surveillance of some of my close friends. People being followed into elevators, people being followed from their homes.
Into elevators?
Into elevators. a couple of weeks ago, a bed sheet. Someone followed a friend of mine home. She managed to get in the house. A bed sheet and gloves left outside of her front door. There's
What does that mean? What does a bed sheet and gloves mean?
I think it's like where you'd put a body.
Oh Lord.
There's been a lot of threats that are coming to my close community, and there's been a heightened surveillance, random phone calls, people going into businesses and offices that they've not been in before, trying to get information. We understand, even last week with the goons and kind of that state-sponsored militia that walked hand in hand with the police. And from this inside source, after revealing that one of the intentions was actually to try and stab a few women. I don't know if you guys saw that.
No.
So, first the goons came with whips. And then they came back with whips and stones. And then they came back with rungus. Yeah. And I was there through it. And we were about 25 people. It hadn't even gathered numbers. It was early on. And when they came back with rungus, they came so violently. They were smashing people over the head. And then they left and they came back with machetes and knives. And at that point, they were also walking hand in hand with the police. So it was all one big mob of police and thugs.
And they knew what they were doing. I mean,
they knew exactly what they were doing. Yeah. And they were actually I was there with Hanifa and Shakira, and they were targeting. They knew who they were coming for.
Yeah.
Who were they coming for?
Well, there was a lot of direct threats, even from the week before, on Hanifa and Shakira. So they kept trying to kind of target them. Right. So after this happened, we were informed that actually part of the goals that day was part of their directive was to stab a few women, because that would have been a more tragic loss countrywide, which would have helped to build on a narrative that protests are not safe and are chaotic and are violent and therefore should not proceed.
Yeah.
And keep the women out of this. Once you stab a few women,
the
others will think about it,
right?
Right?
Instilling fear.
Exactly.
It's intended to instill fear. But women are killed all the time with this ongoing femicide crisis. So, the murder of Albert was basically like a direct threat to the country. And it seems like there's also an intention of trying to provoke violence. Because when you come with so much violence, people have to try and defend themselves somehow. They have to try and protect their lives.
Yeah.
But still, we are peaceful, by nature. And so it's tense coming into the 25th.
But, Ahmed, we bana angalia. Huyu amezaliwa kwa familia ya Kibajuni. Ako mwambao wa pwani.
Wazazi walikutana wapi?
Boston. Yani wako na ukwasi, ukipenda mali. Mbona usiende ujoin your dad in France, ama your mom alipopote alipo, ama your brothers,
uende majuu,
ama uende mayolo uprosper huko? Why? Kwa nini unapigania zogo zenye we mwenyewe usafi? We mwenyewe ni single mother, lakini watoto wako international school. Inakuhusu.
Mwaka iliyopita nilifungwa nikalala ndani Kilifi for 1 week because ilikuwa directive. Hawataki ni organize watu wa Kilifi, walikuwa wanaogopa. Hawataki niongee, hawataki nijipange. So after that, my dad was like, watakuwa, stop engaging, just don't. And for me, I'm not like that. He obviously doesn't know me very well, because in my blood, I've always been a part of wanting to create change. When I was in the US, when I was going to college there, was the Occupy Wall Street movement. And I was in Oakland doing marches against the police who are also killing people there. Shutting down banks that are foreclosing on homes of the underprivileged. So for me, it's the belief and the knowledge that this country can be better. And if there's anything that I can do to be a part of that change, then I'm here for it. And I've always been here for it. I've always worked on trying to do things differently. I work closely with women, with youth, with artists, creatives, because there's different ways that society can function, that can empower, that can unite, that can stimulate the local economy, that can build our local economy, that can work harmoniously with, our environment. So I know there's a better way. And for me, as I mentioned to you, it's a deep-rooted passion. It's not a job. It's a passion. There's nothing that can make you put your life on the line over and over and over again, while also still not being able to pay your bills. As I told you, I stepped down from my company. The government was targeting it, and I also just knew it was time to do something different, time to scale impact. So focusing on national level reform can actually, if you look at the last year's audit, we had 1.3 trillion shillings lost. Hivotu, unaccounted for. And that's what we know. Ikaibiwa. Hajapotea, haina miguu. Ikaibiwa. And that's only what was recorded. 1.3 trillion. It's about what we accumulate in our national debt each year, right? It's what we have to borrow.
That's a third.
It's also the deficit. It's a third of the budget. And if that money was spent over 50 years, miaka hamsini, every single day, 71 million shillings. Every day. So it's not that we don't have resources, it's that we have incompetent, thieving, murderous, greedy, terroristic dictators.
Pathological liars.
Terrorism is defined by when you use extreme violence against a civilian population, generally because of political issues. Now tell me, is Ruto a president or a terrorist? It's the truth, This is all crimes against humanity. It's actually defined as crimes against humanity. So for me, I understand the risk. I understand it. Does it make it fun? No, of course not. But it's not really just this choice of let me sit and go and read a book in the park and watch my country be sold and burned and people dying due to lack of healthcare, lack of quality education, being murdered by the police, no jobs, living without even water, no non-dignified lives. That's what drives me. Last Tuesday was a very clear message that the police will collaborate with and protect the goons. They can murder you on the street in front of the police and there's impunity. So after seeing the escalation of what happened, there's a part that wonders, I think the goons will just be given guns next. Is that where we're going? And then I see this video the other day, I think just yesterday, of some goons going to attack Gachagua with guns. Are they police? Are they rogue units? Are they civilians? It's very hard to know. The lines are very blurred these days. Being said, the mothers went to the police, gave a letter seeking permission. They want to lay flowers. They want to honor their children.
Where?
In the places where they were shot. So this is a national remembrance day. The mothers, I was with some of them the other day, and even after seeing what happened on the streets last week, for me, I was like, there's no way I can mobilize the mothers to come to the streets after being a part of that violence and seeing that. They don't care. They want to honor their children. They want justice for their children. It's been a year. There's not been a single arrest. Why is it that the MP was arrested, or the MP's murderers are already being miraculously investigated within days? Why is it that Alberto Juang, even though it's puppets kind of being put up for to be sacrificed instead of the bigger ones, which we're still we know where the power lies, where the directive lies, and we understand where, if we have change at the largest office, his team will go down with him, right? Ruto and his accomplices lay a foundation of impunity, of murder, of terror. So with Albert's death, with Boniface Kariuki's, why are people being investigated immediately? With Rex Masai's case, it's still at an inquest. He was shot 1 year ago, June 20th, it's 1 year. The murderer is visible we all know who it is. It was clear, there was evidence, there was videos of him being shot. So 1 year later, for those 70 plus, there's not been any accountability. So as much as we're trying as citizens to see what measures we can take to protect ourselves in as many ways as possible and to deal with risk mitigation, we don't have 100,000 officers. We do. That they're meant to be protecting us. They're meant to be protecting people's properties. They're killing us. So we're doing our best to take measures while also still are very aware of the potential violence that may be directed towards us.
Meted out on you.
What's the situation like? What are the undertones out there in the streets? What are the kawaida wananchis, local wananchis feeling and exuding?
Personally, I think kila mtu amechoka na hii serikali. I think it's wananchi, I think the business community, I think, even the baby boomers. This country lacks basic services, basic service delivery. There's an ongoing frustration, but also coming out to the streets and stopping your hustle for the day, it's also a luxury. It's a privilege. Not everyone has that privilege because some people are just trying to find their food for the day. So I think there's a huge frustration. I don't think people know quite where and how to channel it because it's more than a streets-based movement. So there's been a lot of, yes, the streets is one element, but there's also a lot of organizing towards peaceful political transition, which is ideally where we're also going. So there's a lot of frustration, and I think everybody sees these ongoing cases of violence, of killing, of police brutality, and know that it could be them. We've seen it's a parliament of piglets and puppets. We've seen it's the judiciary is kind of hanging by a thread, right? As you said, if we look at Baby Pendo's case, it's been 7 years. We saw in April there was a court order saying police have to be in uniform and unmasked on the streets. Last week they were all in civilian attire, masks and guns in their waist in the police vehicles. So there's a clear suspension of rule of law. Are we, I think, ultimately already, there's a lot that's happening that's about what's happening after June 25th. We're not just focusing on that date. I believe, like nationwide, there's a lot of communities, counties, wards that are organizing towards transition of political power. So yes, the movement is fragmented in different ways, but ultimately we all know that this political class is not going to be the ones leading the change that we want to see.
Yeah.
So it's really about how do we continue facing a very well resourced from a financial, militant perspective when we're looking at the political class.
Yeah.
How do we focus on coming up against them in as many places as possible to transition political power peacefully? There's one group of youth who are working on registering a political party, and I think they had to remodify and resend their logo over 35 times. So all of these paperwork, barricades, blockages, frustrations are being directed also, whether it's getting an ID, whether it's registering political parties, to try to gatekeep and try to keep people out of these processes until it's too late.
Frustration.
Yeah, frustration and delay tactics to give barricades and make it impossible. We won't relent. We're going to continue organizing.
Is it a class issue? Is it an age issue? Or is it a leadership issue? Must we have a youthful leader to steer this country in the right direction?
Does it have to be a Traore?
You're getting it? Or do we need even the elderly who have a youthful spirit and who have the heart of this nation?
To be honest, I don't think it's about age, it's about competence. It's about competence and it's about capacity. So I think we have to be really careful. We clearly can see that the political class who have been ruling this country, they've had 60 years. Si watupatie kama tano na sisi pia tufanye kama mumeshindwa na kazi tokeni.
Yeah.
So it's clear at the moment that it's political class versus Kenya. I think we can see that. We have the blood-based government. We have
blood-based.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I think there's multiple issues. I can't even say leadership because hakuna uongozi. That's not leadership. So we need leadership that is sensitive to the needs of people, that is competent, that knows how to manage resources, people, strategy, plans. A lot of the political class have no background, have no educational background that can actually help support them in their roles. So we need to look at merit. We need to look at historic capacity. So what have you been doing within your communities? What roles have you been taking? What organizations that can show a trajectory of capacity to make change for the betterment of the people? So it's a class, it is class-based because already you're seeing that poverty is being weaponized. Yeah. And we see that we have a system that is designed It's not broken, it's fixed. A system that is designed to keep people in complete poverty, to keep people uneducated, to keep them so vulnerable that they can come and offer 200 shillings and they can go out and try and murder other Kenyans because they need that food, they need that meal. So that's the only reason that our politics is so transactional. You can go into communities and you can pay 500 and Joni Pigie Nduru because people have no jobs. They have to be able to feed themselves. So poverty and maintaining poverty enables the political class to continue taking advantage of that to feed their political agenda. So we do have a lot of class issues and economic issues, poverty-based issues that are designed to maintain the status quo. When we look at age and youthfulness and who should lead, personally, I think that we have to be really aware. We need to be looking for better leaders in all places, MCA level, MP level, governor's level, in all places possible. We need better leadership. Not at this. It's not yet. I've never been interested. It's from Kilifi. People have been pushing me towards that for a long time, for like 7 years. So simamia hi, and I've always said no because I've not felt like that's where I want to make change.